In this video, we'll be reviewing what ClickUp Forms are, how you can use them, create them, and manage them inside your ClickUp account. So let's get started. So first, let's get into our ClickUp account and see how do we create a new form in ClickUp. Now, in order to create a new form, you can do this actually in multiple ways in ClickUp, so it's not like just one single way of creating things in here. The first way, and I'm going to show you all three of them actually, so you can see which one works better for you. The first option is navigating on the left-hand side. You see this kind of menu. You can navigate to the Forms section over here. So in here, you will see all the forms that you have inside your ClickUp account. This is some sort of like a form management part of your ClickUp, right? You can see all my forms, which were created by your specific user, or you can see all forms which were created by all the users inside your workspace. Now, in order to add the new form, you will just have to click this new button over here. But before we do this, let me show you a couple more ways you can create this form. You can also create the form by navigating to your space or your folder and clicking the plus button there. So you can see just the same way you create your lists inside ClickUp account, you can also create your forms. So if you click on that form is going to just appear as if you were to create a list. Now, it's not going to be linked to a specific list. In this case, it will be living inside this space, but it will have or will be some sort of its own list in a way. And I'm going to share with you the reason for that in just a minute. So again, this is the second way of creating the forms in ClickUp. The third way you can do that is navigating directly to your folder list, or your space view over here. So in this example, we're on the list level, right? You can go to the space level in here as well. Let me do this on the list level to keep it simple. I'm going to click on the view here and I'm going to type in form. So you can create forms as views inside ClickUp as well. So again, it becomes pretty handy if you want to have a form for every list that you have in your ClickUp, or let's say you're having a list for each project in your ClickUp setup and you want to have separate forms for different clients so they can submit their request through the form. So you can create it this way as well. Now, these are the three ways how you can create forms in ClickUp. No matter how you do this, they will still appear under the Forms section in your window on the left-hand side over here. The only thing that's going to be different, depending on where you create them, is their location. Sometimes you can see they're going to be created under an application list. In this example, we created them under its own list, which is going to be named form. So if we rename this kind of form list, we can call it, instead of a form, we can say form list over here. And it can also be created under the view over here. In this case, the locations just be different. Form list is going to be located in the demo system space. The form view is going to be located under the specific forms in ClickUp list. So again, this might be a little bit confusing, but when you look at the forms section over here, you'll be able to see all the forms in this section. I'm going to just need to refresh this window. So now you can see all the forms that were created. Again, the names are similar. You might want to change the names just to make sure that you can differentiate between different forms and make sure that you do not remove the forms that you do not want to remove from your account. But again, locations, as you can see over here, are different in this case. Now, I also said that when we're creating a form as a list, it creates a separate list for that form. The reason why is because all the submissions inside your ClickUp forms are going to be records in your ClickUp account. So ClickUp needs to store them somewhere, and ClickUp needs list for that purpose. This is why when you're creating a form as not part of the existing list, it's going to create a separate list for that specific form. So over here, the forms in ClickUp list is technically the same, or it's kind of the same type of list as the form list, because over here you can see all the responses submitted over here, the same way as responses are going to be stored inside this list over here. So again, it's just the way ClickUp stores those submissions. So just be mindful of that when you're creating new forms, and depending on the location where you want that form to be located and where you want the submissions to be populated. Perfect. So now let's actually create one of the forms. So I'm going to go and start with the list view form. So I'm going to create, and again, over here, it shows a similar actually page as if we were to create a dashboard. You can populate the questions for you depending on the type of the form you want to create. I'm going to start it from scratch just to show you how it looks. Now, first of all, you can obviously modify the cover, kind of add some sort of branding to the form itself. You can change the image from ClickUp to your brand image. You can change the cover image for the form just to make it look a little bit more aligned with your branding and style. Now, the most important part of the form is actually the fields that people submit. So over here, in order to add a new field, it's pretty straightforward. Add a question, and now you can add task properties. So for example, you can add a task name here. Now, every single piece of information that you're submitting inside ClickUp Forms is going to be stored inside ClickUp Custom Fields. Now, we've discussed ClickUp Custom Fields in a different video, so you might find it on our channel somewhere. But the main idea is that ClickUp Custom Fields are basically giving more description or more context to your task. So it's like different ways or different data points to describe your task. So what ClickUp Forms do is they allow users outside of your organization to submit that information, or basically describe these tasks inside your ClickUp workspace. Now over here, for example, outside users do not have access to this specific list, but we are giving them this form so they can create new tasks or create new submissions and provide us all the context in custom fields, inside the custom fields, so that we understand what that submission is about or what information they want to submit for us. So with all that said, in order for you to ask for more information inside your ClickUp form, you'll have to create new custom fields inside your ClickUp list. So if you were to add a question here and you select a date, for example, you can have custom fields added that are predefined by ClickUp. So start date and due date are created for every single task, so you can add them, or you can create a new custom field inside your ClickUp form that will be filled out by the person who submits the form. But again, be mindful of that, because when you're adding more and more questions to the form, that means that you're adding more and more custom fields inside your ClickUp list or inside your ClickUp location where that folder is stored. So just to summarize that point, ClickUp form questions equal ClickUp custom fields. And again, if you're creating more form questions, that's just going to create more custom fields. And sometimes things become messy with custom fields. So you might want to be mindful of what type of information you're really requesting in this forms and for what use cases you're really using ClickUp forms. But as we are doing this, let's just go ahead and create a couple of them. So let's create an add, for example, a couple of questions for channels. These are custom fields that we already have in place. We have content types. We're going to also add the platform over here. Now you can obviously, again, change how these fields are located on the form. You can drag and drop them, change their location. You can add the description of the form over here. You can also add signature blocks, but again, signature is a type of custom field inside ClickUp, and it's going to be added just to that task, which will represent the form submission. Now, as soon as you're done adding all the questions here, you can navigate to settings for this specific form. I also recommend you renaming the form to make sure that you can kind of, again, see different forms in your form section over here and make sure you're not deleting the forms that you're actually using. Over here on the right-hand side, you can see that it creates the task in a specific location. As we said, every single submission is a separate task in ClickUp, so it has to have a list where it creates those tasks. You can also assign tasks to a specific user whenever the submissions come through, so they can have a look at that submission and do whatever they have to do with that request or that new task. You can also apply the template upon submission. So this is some sort of an automation that's going to work as soon as the submission comes in. You can perform some actions in ClickUp automations and again, assign it to someone, move tasks to someone, maybe change the due date. Whatever has to be done inside the automation can be done over here using the template. You can also apply a template upon submission. So what this does is allows you to create ClickUp templates. First, you need to have available ClickUp templates in your workspace, and then you can apply those templates to the new submissions that are coming into your system. Now, those templates might include task descriptions. They can include different types of custom fields that are not included in the form. Maybe it's assignees or whatever you're putting into the template for that specific task. You can apply that upon the submission. So that's going to work as some sort of a ClickUp automation, helping you, again, doing this automatically instead of applying that template manually. Now, you can also have an option for redirect URL. This is when you want people after submission to be redirected to your website or maybe any other page to leave their review or whatever the case is with a specific workflow that you have in your company. You can change the button label, which is pretty generic for this form builders. You can also add custom field answers to the task description. Now, what this does is it just duplicates the answers that you have inside your custom fields, again, inside this form, as we said over here, into the description of the task as well. You can also resubmit or show the resubmit button. So basically, as soon as the form is submitted, you can show the same button for resubmission so that that person can submit one more reply, just in case you need people to submit, let's say, 2, 3, 5, 10 different forms at the same time. This can just make it a little bit easier for them to get back to the same form and submit those replies. You can also show reCAPTCHA. So this is, again, the generic functionality for forms. You've probably seen this in many Google Forms or in many websites. And you can also hide ClickUp branding. This is something that can be adjusted on the paid plans. I believe on the free plans, you still will have to have the ClickUp branding on your form. And now for the layout, it can be changed from the 1 column to 2 column. Now over here, you can see that my questions are now in 2 columns. If I change it to 1 column, it's going to just look like that. So again, makes it a little bit easier to maybe fill out if you're filling out on mobile, for example. And if we go back to the settings over here, you can also change the color theme. So it's just the form looks a little bit more aligned with your branding and style. But as soon as you're done with the settings, your form is now ready to be alive and for your clients or whoever outside stakeholders are to submit this information inside your ClickUp account. So let's now test together this simple form and see how the submissions look inside our ClickUp account. Now, before you send the link to someone, you need to make sure that this form is published by checking this toggle over here. Otherwise, the copy link is not going to be enabled. So just in case it's grayed out, make sure that you publish the form before actually sharing it. You can also preview the form from here so we can actually submit it in here. So let's just try it. We're going to say testing form functionality. I'm going to select the channels. This is the custom field that I set up inside my ClickUp account, and the options are coming from there. I'm going to say the platform, and these are a little bit random custom fields in here. But as soon as we submit the form, it says thank you. Now again, we didn't put any redirect URL, or we didn't add the resubmit button in here. We could enable that. So if we do this, I'm going to submit another answer over here. So this is the resubmission button. If we click on that, it's going to take us back to the form. If we were to provide the redirect URL, that submission would take us to the other web page that we provided in the settings here. But now let's navigate to our list view and see the testing form functionality. So over here, again, this is what we set. All the answers that we provided in the form. So first of all, the task name went here, and then all the other answers went into the custom fields, right? So if we were to have 15 questions in that form, we would need to have 15 different custom fields inside that specific list. So again, before you're creating ClickUp forms, just make sure that you understand that every single answer or question is going to be a separate custom field, and that sometimes it might not be worthwhile to use ClickUp Forms, but you might want to use a different online form builder just to make it easier for you to manage all these custom fields that you have in ClickUp. Because if you're creating multiple forms and you have many forms for different use case in your company, creating all those custom fields will just again create more mass unless you know how to manage custom fields correctly. And again, in this case, you might want to keep them inside ClickUp. But again, this is just one of the things or the issues that I faced with ClickUp Forms and the difficulties that I had with them. Now, as soon as you have your submission inside the ClickUp account, now you can manage it as a regular task. You can update the statuses, you can assign people, you can change the due dates, and it can go through the regular workflow. So if you're thinking about your client submitting change request through this form, every single submission is going to be a new task, and you just take that task or that request through your regular workflow or through your regular process of processing those requests as you would do with creating this task manually yourself, or clients sending you the email and you creating this email manually yourself. So again, that kind of saves a little bit of time and gives a little bit more streamlined feeling to how you process the submissions inside your ClickUp account. I hope you enjoyed this video, and this video gave you a little bit more details about ClickUp Forms and how you can use them inside your workflows and for your specific business processes. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one very soon.